Welcome to Diary of an Ex-Ho. I'm Cheri Hardman. I'm your ex-ho, and I will also be today's guest, interviewed by my good friend, Andy Vargo. Sit back, relax, enjoy the episode, and remember the old saying, always a bridesmaid when you're a hoe.
Hey, welcome to Diary of an Ex-Ho. We're doing it backwards today, not in a weird way. This is a very special episode, and I get to interview Cheri Hardman based on popular demand. Cheri, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. This is so fun. It's going to be interesting. I know your fans have been watching this podcast and have been anxious to hear your answers. So
They've been asking, when am I going to be the one interviewed or talk? And they even sent in some questions. So
yeah,
I haven't practiced the answers to these. I just sent them over to you. And I'm just going to.
I know. I was reading some of those. I was like, oh God, I'm gonna have to ask that question. So I know that when you do this, you like to start out with Marry, Shag, Kill. So we got to stick with her tradition.
I didn't know you were going to do all that. That's funny.
So,
Okay.
yeah, are you ready?
I am.
I'm gonna share my screen here. Let me know if you can see that.
See what?
Can you see Marry, Shag, Kill?
No. Yes, I can.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's fair. That's payback. Okay. I was like, it looks like it's sharing. Okay.
I can
All
also
right.
see your typo.
Oh my gosh, I see that now. I need to get addition. I just put a little extra lisp on it.
Uh-huh.
Marry, Shag,
That
Kill.
looks
Okay.
spectacular, by the way. Thanks for making the ones I usually do look like shit.
Well, it's just this and one more slide, so nothing too exciting. Are you ready, Cheri? I really had to. This was tough to think about, like, who do I put on your list? And then it just dawned on me, like, I know you well enough to know who to put on. So we're doing where to go. It should go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. We're doing serial killer edition.
Oh my God. So good. Oh boy.
It's just, I have to say, this felt so creepy just to put together.
Hmm. Now, this is tough because Ted Bundy is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Do I put him Mary or do I put him Shag?
That's the tough thing with this game is it's like, do I want this to last or be a one-time thing?
Well, and I really have no interest in having sex with either of the other two. Do I marry one of them and just not have sex with them? Or marry Ted Bundy? No.
Can't do it.
Okay. I'm going to marry Gary Ridgway. He's probably not around that much. He was a good family man while he was not killing people. Shag Ted Bundy because, and then kill John Wayne Gacy Jr. Even though he's already dead. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Nice.
Good one, Andy.
There you go. I was thinking so much about, like, who do I put on there, and then all of a sudden, oh God.
I would have never thought of that. That's great.
First, I had to Google, the top serial killers to find out who, and then I have heard you talk about some of those enough to. In fact, I almost didn't put the names because I was like, oh, Cheri will know just from seeing their faces who they are. And then I thought about finding their yearbook pictures. It's creepy because they would be, teenagers. Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, Cheri, so would you rather watch or be watched?
I'd rather be watched.
Okay.
I'm much more of an exhibitionist.
I can see it. Okay. What did your parents call your private parts?
Um, well, I don't remember what they called it at first, but then we got these friends and they called a vagina a bottom. Like most people would call we use bottom for a butt, but they
Yeah.
called the vagina their bottom. So we
Hmm.
just kind of adopted that, and so then it became bottom, and I think wiener for a penis.
Okay. All right. Um, are your parents still together?
No, not at all.
Okay. Were they affectionate with each other when you were growing up?
They were, but it was sporadic. Like they got divorced when I was about 25. And I remember them flirting and being kind of sexual. Yes, I do. But then my dad would say gross stuff like I remember one time he was trying to get her to go take a nap. That was the thing. Like, let's go take a nap. And my mom was saying, I'm on my period. And he's like, your mouth's not bleeding. It's like,
Oh
oh,
gosh.
gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would hear stuff like that, like, ugh, just I don't even want to know. But then there
Right.
were times when they were not getting along well at all, so there was no.
Yeah. So were they affectionate with you?
I don't remember them being affectionate with me, but I remember seeing my mom like cuddling my little sister and feeling like I wish I could do that, but feeling I'm too big now.
Mm. Hmm.
So uh, I'm gonna assume that they were, but I don't remember it at
Yeah.
all.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So you saw signs of affection,
Yeah.
one way or the other. Um, so how would you consider them as far as being like good role models for a relationship?
Um, well, I can look at that two ways. My dad, I hope my dad doesn't watch this show because I'm gonna be totally honest. My dad was nice to my mom. My mom yo-yo dieted all her life. So she was either fat or thin, fat, thin. When she was thin, he was real nice to her. And when she was fat, he was mean to her.
Oh,
So as for a relationship role model, absolutely not. And I think to myself, uh, kind of why I never wanted to get thin was I didn't want to meet a man and marry him when I was thin in case I was ever going to gain my weight back and then he wouldn't love me anymore.
yeah.
There's that.
Wow.
But I also remember my mom, like my dad saying, "You're not going shopping today." And my mom saying, "Oh, I'm not, am I?" And then getting up and grabbing her purse and leaving the house. And so, as for like a woman standing up for herself, she was a good role model.
Hmm.
As a couple, maybe not so much.
Yeah. And sometimes, I know we've talked about this, like you learn what you want out of a relationship by what you see that isn't necessarily the best too. So
Sometimes it's a reverse role model.
yeah. Yeah. So getting into the stuff here, what would you consider your sexual awakening?
That's funny. I've asked so many people that, and I have no idea how to answer it.
I hate to surprise you with any of these questions.
I know it's like I write these questions, but I never really thought about this. Um, I know like I define it like on my when I'm doing it, like either as something that happens to your body and you notice those changes,
Hmm.
or something that you observe. And part of that was my parents again. I remember them flirting and maybe even flirting with other couples. I don't think they did like any swapping or anything, but they're having a couples thing and they, uh, that kind of just made me like, wait a minute, what's going on here a little bit? Like,
Yeah.
um, there was that. Uh, I mean, and as for my body, like, Well, I also remember when I was 10, they had a friend, and now that I think about it, he was grooming me. He
Mm.
would get me apart from everybody else and tell me I was pretty, and he never did anything to me, but he was working that. And I
Wow.
remember feeling that like, "Ugh, this feels creepy. Like I knew it wasn't right, but I didn't really know what it was, and I never really said anything to anybody. So
Hmm. Mm.
there's
All right. Did you have a celebrity crush, or do you, or did you?
I had so many when I was young. There was the Donny Osmond and Jack Wild from HR Puff and Stuff, which you probably have never heard of.
I have heard of that show,
Oh,
actually.
okay. But the big one was for me was David Cassidy. Like
Okay.
David Cassidy, that might be sexual awakening. Like I would look at him and feel like, you look at Donny Osmond and you think of like maybe kissing him, but more
Hmm.
like just holding hands or just being around him. But David Cassidy, I knew I wanted to do something with him, even though I didn't really know what that was. Yeah, he made me warm between the loins.
Oh, I see. I'm just looking him up to see who that is.
David Cassidy, oh my God.
I could see how he was the guy back in the day,
With the
like feathered hair.
feathered hair and all that. Yeah, oh yeah. Partridge Family.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Mhm.
Nice. Okay. Um, Perfect. Well, speaking of TV shows, what's a mainstream movie with a like sex or love scene that really did it for you?
Well, it's funny because I have talked about this before. There's a movie called 9.5 Weeks. You ever
Okay.
seen it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you should watch it. But it's Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger,
Okay.
and it's kind of I guess I don't want to like the movie's very sexual. There's a scene where he eats food off her body in the kitchen, and there's a scene
Okay.
where she strip teases, but it's like a really sexual, and it used to like really excite me, but then like the last time I watched it as an adult, like I watched it maybe when I was watching it, I was probably 18 to 21, somewhere in there. I don't remember what year it came out, but I watched it several times. But when I watched it later as an adult, I realized that the underlying theme or of the relationship was very sick.
Mm. Okay.
And so I felt I didn't really kind of realize that when I was younger.
Hmm.
I was just thinking about the hot sex, and then I watched it. I'm like, oh, gross! Like,
Kind of spoiled it for you?
did you have you seen the movie Secretary?
No.
James Spader and Maggie Gyllenhaal, and she's his secretary, and he's very dominant with her. That's another
Okay.
hot movie too. But like I gravitate toward that kind of stuff, I guess, in movies, but in real life, no. Have a man like bossing me around and shit? No, I don't think so.
Okay. Interesting.
So yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of 9.5 weeks, this just in, we have a viewer question.
Okay.
Um, do you like to go for long, long sessions that last 9.5 weeks or shorter sessions?
I'm a married person now. So I don't need all that making out and long, passionate sessions.
You just need to get it over with.
Well, it's just like, what's the point? You get to do what you need done, and then it's more. It's not really like it's a chore now, but just we know how to do it the way we do it, and then 10 minutes tops, we're out of there.
Why are you breaking routine? Come on. What
I
kind
got
of
shows. I've got shows to watch and things to do.
shows like are you watching porn?
Sometimes
Yeah, what's your
only just when you need it to push you over the edge.
I see.
Yeah.
What's your category?
what will I admit to? There are some. Um, I kind of like stepdad, stepmom kind of porn stuff. I
Oh,
don't even know why. It's just that forbidden, kind of.
the taboo stuff.
Yeah, I
There's
guess.
something about things being kind of a little bit naughty.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. Yeah, why not?
I don't know. Another speaking of a little bit naughty, another viewer wrote in and asked if you like anal. I can't even believe I'm asking that.
I'm definitely telling Dave not to watch this
I'm
one.
gonna plug my ears while you answer.
Here's the deal with anal, okay? I am not for or against it really in any way. I don't think about it, I don't fantasize about it, but there is something about if he just puts his dick in just like maybe this much, like not the whole thing, it feels really good. And I'll tell you. No, but here's
Great.
the deal. And you've heard me do this bit before, but it's like, here's your butthole. Dave kind of has a trouble with the target sometimes. Well, it's not that big, but I can't go small enough. And you got to really like, here's an anal tip. You got to get it straight on like that. Like you can't come at it at an angle.
Gotcha.
So just make sure you're centered before you go for it. And of course, plenty of lube.
All right. I getting an education here. All
Yeah.
right. So take those tips to the bank, literally. All right. What would you consider to be amazing sex?
Um, well, of course, everybody comes. But what I like is like when you do it, and I'm lucky that my husband has amazing recuperative powers. But I like it when you do it and then you're still so worked up that you just do it again. And even the second time doesn't really have to be that good, but it's just like you just don't want to stop doing it.
It's like the cool down lap.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, why
right.
not? I like a little,
Well, after dinner minute.
That's actually why I married Dave,
Okay.
because he's got a 4-minute refractory
Oh, so
period.
that answers my next question if you've had premarital sex. Check. All right. Another viewer question is bigger better.
Yeah, but not to the extreme. I dated a guy once that had like a 10-inch dick, but
Hmm.
he just walked around. I dated him a couple times. Uh, but once I had sex with him, because he just walked around with a thing of Vaseline in his pocket. I'm not kidding.
God.
And he would just grease it up, and it wasn't that impressive. It's too much. A vagina is only 5 to 6 inches long inside. You can't put the whole thing in anyway. So there's always going to be some sticking, but thicker is better for
Totally.
sure.
Okay.
Girth.
Perfect. That was the next viewer's question was your biggest and smallest adventures.
Oh, I'll tell you, smallest. Oh, back on when I used to be on the Nightline,
Hmm.
there was this one guy, very cute. He was a lot younger, and he was kind of one that everybody slept with because the women talked. And he was a bigger guy, and he had a really small dick, but he was just so good at other things that it really didn't matter to me. Now, a lot of the other women would make fun of him, like, "Oh, his dick's so small." It's like I didn't really care,
Mm.
but I don't know. I can't even tell you how small it was, but maybe like it was small.
Gherkin size.
Yeah,
Yeah. So what's your body image like?
terrible, pretty much. I've always been big, and so that doesn't. Uh, that's not really it. It's more like my body doesn't work like it used to,
Mm.
and so it's, like we'll be having sex and I'm like, oh, my hip. It does
Right.
limit, things that you can do sometimes. Like you get cramps in play. I get cramps in places, and I can't really like do
There's
everything
nothing
I used
like
to.
an ill-timed cramp.
Well, it's just things just don't work that well anymore.
Hmm.
Dryness and stuff. So we all know that about me. So
Right. Now, the next two questions are a lot, so I'll let you answer if you want or not. But these are viewer questions. One wants to know if you deep throat. I don't want to know who wants to know that or why. And the other one is the most dicks in a day. Share what you will.
these guys, man, I'll tell you later who wrote what questions. Uh, no interest in deep throating. Thank you very much. Have I? Sure. When you're 21 or 22, or when I was 21, 22, 20, I thought that I needed to be like the best at everything sexually. And that's how I could trap a man or find a man to make a man love me, whatever. So I knew all the tricks. I still know all the tricks, but I don't use them anymore. Not all of them. Why? And what's the other one? How many dicks in a day? Yeah, I'm not going to answer that one.
Yeah, the other one you may or may not want to answer is bra size.
It's hard to answer that one. I have been measured. I'm supposed to be wearing like a 60 triple K. They don't make bras that size, or if they do, it does look like a KKK hood. It's white and pointed, and it's just not pretty. So if you want any lift or underwire, they don't make them in that size. So right now, I think I wear like a 54D, and then I put an extender on the back of it. But then the straps always slide down, so then I have to put a sports bra over it. And then if I really want to lift them up, I got to put the thing on the back of the bra straps. You put that on for me before.
Mhm. We've
So
had
there's
some.
just a lot of rigging things. There's a lot of rigging things to keep them in place. And that really is a pet peeve of mine, that there's just no nice, sexy bras in bigger sizes.
Mhm. Hmm.
There's a website you can order one, and it's like in Australia or somewhere way far away, and they're like a couple $100 to have
Okay.
them make one for you. But then you don't even know what it's going to look like when it's on. So I don't know.
So, do you have any sexual regrets?
Yes, of course, tons of them. Um, well, yeah, there were a lot of them, and mostly it would be like I don't regret that I slept with a lot of guys, but I do regret sleeping with guys that didn't value me.
Mhm.
I've had guys like grab my wallet on their way out, stuff like that. So that was not cool. So I regret like not at least having some connection with a guy before I slept with him. And then there were some like I don't want to say who, but there were times, and I ask people this question all the time, that yes, I would have sex with people just to get them to leave.
Mhm.
So that's probably a regret too.
Well, what's left on your bucket list? Anything?
No, because I'm married now. So the only thing that I wanted to do that I never got to do was sleep with a woman. And unless Dave gets hit by a bus or something, that's not going to happen. So
It's not on Dave's bucket list either,
no.
huh? um, so why do you think sexuality is so important to you?
um, because it's how I learned to navigate through the world as I was younger. how I got attention from people, how I got to feel like I was going to maybe find love from somebody. And plus, it's fun, and I was always good at it. And when you have big boobs, okay, you don't always have to dress like I do, but people automatically assume you're a slut if you have big boobs a lot of times. So I can remember back in fifth grade, the boys were snapping my bra and trying to feel my boobs. And um, I guess that's how I learned then. That's what set me apart from the other girls, is that the boys all wanted to come sit by me, but that was why. And so that's how I got attention.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go.
So how do you feel about being an ex-ho? I think that's
I
another.
feel, I feel fine about being an ex-ho. Sometimes I wish I was still a hoe.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm missing out on some fun being married. And I know that sounds terrible. But when you're single for 49 years, um, you get used to things a certain way, and then you're married, it's different. So it's kind of, but it's not like I regret marrying my husband or that I don't like to have sex with him. It's more like just there's less adventures now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, every sex can't be an adventure every time when you're married,
Right.
but it can be when you're a hoe.
Right. How has your sexuality played into your confidence?
My confidence?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what it's all about. That's where, no, that's where I've gotten all my confidence.
All right.
Not all, that's not true, but a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah. Now I know people are watching this on your Instagram and promo stuff. Is there anything you want to make sure and tell people about or promo?
The main thing is we're doing Roast Your Ex on Valentine's Day at Nate Jackson's Super Funny Comedy Club. I've produced this show, I don't know how many years in a row, but it's always a hit. It's always a big seller. People like it. People like to roast their exes. There's going to be an opportunity on this at the show to be able to roast your ex and maybe win a prize. That's for the audience. And then, of course, you're going to hear us all telling jokes, but you don't have to hate your ex to go and think it's funny. You can be madly in love and still go to this because we're going to be talking about dating, heartbreak, love, all that stuff.
Well,
So,
and I have some friends that are coming and who are married, and it's their date night. And I've had some people say, "Oh, that's kind of fun because we don't really get into the whole lovey-dovey Valentine's Day stuff, but this
right.
is different and fun." And so they're, I know some people going for that reason.
Right. So we got anti-Valentine's Day people. And then we got people that are just ready for a good laugh. And it's going to be a good time. I'm glad you're going to be on the show. And we're going to have Carol Freeman and Orchid Cameron's coming up from LA. And then Greg Beechler, which I always like to have him on the show because he's got a really good bit about his ex.
That'd be fun.
So I'm excited. It's going to be a good time. I got other shows before then, but this is the one. If you can only come to one show in the next couple months, that's the one. Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day at Nate Jackson's Super Funny Comedy Club. And you can get tickets already. They're live.
Yeah, so you can go right now on Eventbrite. Probably by the time this airs, you'll be able to get them on superfunnycomedyclub.com. Anyway, just go to my website, cherihardman.com. That will guide you where to go.
Perfect. All right. Do you want to tell it? Okay, so one question, and then think about a story you might want to share. And maybe this is even in the story, but what's the funniest sex you've ever had?
Funniest. Well, I can think of two examples. They're both with my friend Scott, who died last year. So I can tell them and he won't yell at me because he can't. Um,
Oh,
so one time we were doing it, and then all of a sudden we both looked at each other like all of a sudden this feels really good because the condom had come off.
oh.
But it was just both of us at the same time looked at each other like, what?
What just happened?
And then another time he actually did try and use Vicks Vapor Rub for lube.
Oh no.
And
That's a
so
true story.
at first, it's a true story, yeah, because at first it was like it didn't really feel like anything. But again, we're doing it in the missionary style both times. We look at each other and it's like, uh-oh. So we
Oh,
both jumped up and had to try to wash it off and out, but it took a while. So that burns.
oh.
Do not do that. Yeah.
I don't know what would ever possess you to even, I mean, I guess if you don't have any to use, but oh my God.
Well, we just thought it would be tingly, maybe. No, yeah. We were young and dumb. So
Okay. Oh my God, that's awesome. Before we go, is there a story you want to share?
let me think. So I got lots of stories. I'll try to think of one that I haven't told. And my girlfriend and I used to go to this place. Okay, so there on, is it Bridgeport? Way at the end by I-5,
Mhm.
kind of Lakewoody.
Yeah.
There's right by McCord, or what used to just where McCord is. There's a place, and it was like last known incarnation. I think it was a Cheers.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But years ago, it used to be called the Sportsman's. We called it the Sportsman's Club. And on one side was a bar, and on the other side was a restaurant.
Mhm.
And it was a big country bar. And a lot of the McCord guys went there. So we would go there every weekend, and we met lots of cute service guys. Forgot what I was going to say about this. But I remember one time we went, well, I know we went to McCord and we went to Fort Lewis. There were two different things at that time with guys and had sex with them in the wherever, the what do you call it?
The barracks or
The barracks, yeah. And I remember that my friend Beth the whole way kept going like, "Oh my God, we're going to the base! Oh my God, we're going to the base!" And it was like she was so cute that the guys really liked her, but like as her friend, it'd be like, "Oh my God, you're so annoying." And
Mhm.
I remember we had sex in the same room, and she was making so much noise, and I was pissed because I knew she was just like faking it.
You're like,
Trying
that's not what she really sounds like.
like trying to outdo me is what she was doing, and it's like I'm not doing all that. And then I think that was the night that I was really drunk, and I left, and they didn't realize I had left, and so
Mm.
I go like walking out of there. Well, they came and picked me up. They're like, "You can get shot. You can't just wander around in here."
Yeah. Yeah. Not good. Oh God. That's funny.
One time I had sex in the bathroom of a barber shop
Okay.
because I used to see this guy who was a barber. I was 17, he was 27, and he thought he was like Warren Beatty in Shampoo. Do you know who Warren Beatty is? Are you familiar with Shampoo?
I have not seen Shampoo, but I know who Warren Beatty is.
Well, in the movie Shampoo, he was a hairdresser, and that was his way. He got to like bang a lot of women. And
Didn't
so,
he play Dick Tracy?
yeah, that was after that. This was when he used to still be cool and sexy.
Ah,
And
okay.
so he would bang all his clients. And so I think that Roberto thought that's what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Uh, but he was very sexy, and he would just like, if he was bored, I lived right down the street, he would call me and just like, "Come let me play with your hair." So that was kind of fun that I just go down there, he'd do hairstyles on me.
Aw.
But then one time he like wanted to do it. There was people in the shop, and he took me in the bathroom to do it in there.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Shout out to him. He's a bus driver now. So,
All right. Those bus bathrooms aren't as roomy.
especially because it's a metro bus.
Oh
So,
yeah, no bathroom. All right. Well, anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
let me think of something a little more wholesome because now I'm realizing that this was a lot of filth. Now, normally we don't get that dirty on this show, but these were audience questions. Those dirty fuckers, you know.
I know. That's why I put the disclaimers out there. I'm like, this is not my question.
Yeah, I'm gonna just make like a reel of Andy asking all these.
Oh God.
No, I wouldn't do that. Let me think of something kind of wholesome before we go. Um,
Here's kind of a wholesome question for you. Um, how important do you think sexuality is in a relationship?
I think it's really important because it not only, I mean, not only do we all crave sex, but a lot of people, if your partner's not giving you what you want, it might make you feel unloved.
Mm.
You know, sexuality, like you, these questions are embarrassing because everybody doesn't just talk about this all the time, but these are things that people think about, you know,
Mhm.
and how uh, if nobody wants to have sex with you, it's kind of hard to feel good about yourself, you know. So if your partner's not connecting with you on that level, now of course there are things like illnesses or things that can come into play.
Sure.
But I think it's really important to have a good sexual relationship, one that both of you agree on. So if at some point you both slow way down and you're both okay with it, then there's nothing wrong with it. But if you have a mismatch in styles or desire, it can be a big problem. And I think it's one that should be addressed.
Hmm.
Because you got to feel like somebody's connecting with you.
Yeah. Do you think that being an ex-ho can play into how you feel in your relationship, or can it get in the way, or how do you enter a relationship if you have that at play in finding the right?
Okay, this is interesting because I'm married to a man who's definitely not an ex-ho.
Hmm.
Like, uh, his body count is very low. I mean, and good for him. But he wants to think that I'm a virgin, like that. He doesn't want to ever hear about my past or about past boyfriends, even about the kids' dads. If I start talking about a story about one of them, I can feel him stiffen up. He does not like to have, I don't know that it's not that he doesn't like to have a wife that's an ex-ho, because I'm sure there are benefits to him, if you know what I'm saying. But, um, you know, it might be hard for some people to deal with knowing their partner's past that way.
Hmm.
What the question is, but
But that's how being an ex-ho can affect or how you step into a relationship. You know,
and at first it was like I'm gonna be honest, like I kind of, well, I didn't trust men at all. I didn't trust men at all when I was younger,
hmm,
because when you're a hoe, maybe men don't always treat you that nice. And so it kind of made this trust deficit. And so I'd play with guys and I would get them to be attracted to me by being mean to them. And
hmm.
it worked. Guys like that when you kind of flip them shit. Some guys do, you know. And so that was my MO, is that I would like, you know, find a really hot guy and try to make him feel like a piece of shit. Then they were like, ooh, she's not falling all over me. Why? What has she got? You know?
Yeah. Now they're into the chase.
Right. But then once I met Dave, uh, I kind of tried to do that with him a little bit. And then I just one day I remember being in the car with him and thinking, I don't have to play that game with this guy. He's safe. He's always honest, and he's always where he says he's going to be. I knew I didn't have to play games with him. And so at first, like we did a lot of sexual exploration and stuff, and you know, now we don't have to.
Hmm.
You know what we like, and so it made it hard a little bit at first.
Hmm. Yeah, I have some friends that I know one was very hoish and one was very, maybe it was with
Uh-huh.
one other person. And I've always thought, like, when I meet people, like if I meet someone who's not very experienced or something, it's kind of like, oh, like is my past going to be held over me? Is my like, are we going to click? Do we, how much of that is important, and then how much, you like, just, how do you line up? And but it when you find the right person, I don't think it matters.
No, but I mean, it is something you kind of have to work through.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like what? You don't want to hear my story about the threesome that I had with those, you know?
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. I'll save it for stage.
That's why I've told him don't watch this show, and yeah, he does not.
Yeah.
So good.
Good. All right. Anything else you want to share before we go?
No, I think that's it. I need to go take a shower now. I feel really dirty.
Yeah, you clean up, you dirty, filthy animal, you. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today, Cheri. Thanks for opening up and touching on things that people don't always talk about, and making it something that we can get into.
All right. Thanks, Andy. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Bye.